I'll put it on the go and do cards. Hello, everybody. Hey, happy Saturday night. And wow, first time on my channel. We got Tom from Early Ritual.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks, Tom, for joining me.
No
Also
problem.
known as hashtag Team Depeche when scavenger hunt teams come up. So, as everybody knows and remembers, I kicked Tom's ass the first time.
We
No, but
tied, and then there was a
barely
little bit of
though.
shenanigans.
But believe me, those prompts, Hershey brings it when she does her scavenger hunts.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God, Tom and I were like, what? And I thought it couldn't get worse than that. And when I went up against you, I'm like, oh my God. It was just like I had to keep turning down it was just maddening. So, yes, getting ready. And I'm a little scared for the scavenger hunt teams, aren't you, Tom?
It's very traumatizing. Very traumatizing. But they're a lot of fun.
They're fun, but yeah, you're stressed out because you really
When
want to
you're
do
in
well.
it, oh my God, it is so when you're like shuffling through your cards, knowing you're like, I know there's a bird on this card, and you can't find that card, and you're
Yes.
going through, and you got Thomas counting down the clock, and
And it's like, stop it. And then
And then
Hershey, I'm like,
Gerald's telling
stop
you,
it.
"Oh, look in this deck, a deck that you don't even have." And
Yeah. Up and
oh,
Hershey's here. I knew she would be lurking, but yeah, Hershey brings it. So if
yes,
you're
she
going to
does.
participate in one of her scavenger hunts, yeah,
Yeah, I agree,
I,
Miss
I, I would
Moonlight.
bring a tissue box too, because sometimes when you're done, you just want to cry and go, I know I had a card with them. Why can't I find it?
Yeah, but
But
I
yeah,
do agree with Miss Moonlight. I think as a team, we will kill
definitely be a
the next one.
powerhouse. We will be a force to reckon with.
Yep.
All righty, let's say hi to some people in chat. Oh my goodness. We have Miss Moonlight. Yes, Team Depeche is here. People are like, what's Depeche? And if people don't know by now, Tom and I are fans of Depeche Mode, so we want to have fun with our team name. And
Exactly.
so,
So when we
I mean,
first bonded over.
we had so many ideas. It was, team policy of truth and this and that. And I was just like, how about just Team Depeche? I was like, that's
Simple and
good.
sweet.
Yeah, simple and sweet. Hello, Jeff from Tarot Ask Backwards. He goes, a collab I want to see. Yep. It's biblical. It's like the skies, the clouds parted and the sun came out and the angels raised their trumpets and yeah.
I
Um
was very excited when I got that email from you. Do you want to be team? And I'm like, yes.
yeah, let's do it.
We will
Um
take over the scavenger
yes.
hunt world.
Yeah, watch. Well, no,
We're
I'm
gonna
not even
tank.
gonna go there. I'm gonna be like, yes, we will reign. Um,
Hershey will make like the hardest questions in the
oh
world.
my God, we'll all get like 20. You got 20 prompts. How many cards did you get, Tom? One. How many did you get? Two. With that one with Gerald and I, it was just like, and then watching Sherry and Allie was so hard. I couldn't watch the whole show. I felt so bad because even I'm seeing her going, what the hell? I'm like
Yeah.
looking at I go, I don't have that. I'm like, how the heck? And I was just like, I it was kind of like, okay, when
Yeah.
we do the teams, how far down that rabbit hole is Hershey going to go with her cards? It's just like,
Hmm.
I'm still, whenever I do readings with certain cards and decks, I look at and go, oh, I should put that aside. That's got a couple interesting looking objects in it, so I'm constantly,
Me too.
thinking about that.
So
So,
Hershey, you really screwed us all up
yeah.
because that's all we think about now when we look at our decks. It's like, oh, that's got a frog. I have to remember that.
Oh my goodness. And the snail. I was like, I know I have a snail somewhere. Of course, I found the snail, about an hour later going through. I knew it was in there. So, yes, you want to be on my lap. So, we're going to say hi, say hello to everybody. Hello, hello. And now you're going to go down. Okay. All right. There you go. He always has to say hi when mommy starts talking to herself. So, though technically I'm not talking to myself, but I digress. So, Tarot asked backwards, a collab I want to see. Definitely. Hello, Fatima. Hello, my dear Care Bear. Good to see you. Let's see. Miss Moonlight Tarot asked, I saw your post about bite. Yes, glow in the dark. You know, I saw those today. We went to Barnes and Noble, and I could not believe how many tarot and oracle decks they were able to shove on
Oh
this
yeah.
tiny little rotating, turnstile. And one of them was a glow in the dark. So I wonder if that's the same one that I saw. And Moira, hello, Moira. And let's see, Miss Moonlight, I wish, what's it like? Okay, so there we go. We're talking about the glow in the dark tarot cards. We have Kristen Louise.
Hey, Kristen.
Hello, my dear. Okay, still talking about the glow in the dark. At least it's a tarot deck we're talking about that glows in the dark.
See, it's good.
There we go. And Ange is here. Hi, Ange.
And
Been a while. And there's Hershey. Hello, everyone. Chat, blessings, positive vibes. And I can see her sitting there going.
yeah, exactly.
And her evil lair.
I got to remember to be nice to her now, so I can
Exactly. She goes,
get goodwill from her.
how hard do you want your prompts to be? So
even today, I would have been terrible. Like today's was.
Oh, I didn't get to watch it. I was out.
It was a easier list in the sense it was just like a simple object. It wasn't like instead of just like a bluebird, it was just a bird. Just something with wings.
Oh my goodness, poor Gerald's there going, why couldn't I have gotten that one?
That's what I said in the chat. I was like, in mine, it was like a raccoon with wearing ballet slippers, dancing on a.
I know some of these things. I'm like,
it was crazy.
Boy, those cards sound like someone was on an acid trip or something. So who participated today? Who were the contestants?
It was Tamzy, Faye, and Michelle was a last minute fill-in.
Oh, so Michelle. Oh, our Michelle played. Oh, so
yeah. And she did pretty good actually
because she doesn't have any tarot decks.
She has 3 decks, I think.
She only has 3 decks.
Pretty good.
Did she win?
No, but close. It wasn't as far off as it should have been.
Oh wow. Prompts to you, Michelle. Snails, ballet slippers. I have no clue what is going on. So Kristen, Hershey hosts something called a scavenger hunt. This started about 2 months ago, I think it was early January or late December. I can't remember. The days blend. And Tom and I were the first contestants. We signed up for it. And so what it is that Hershey goes through her decks and she looks at all the different images on her decks and then she makes prompts. And so whichever sheet we get 20 of them. And, most of the time we're not going to have, because Hershey's collection is huge and it's very eclectic. I have mostly a lot of like mainstream. So there were cards and prompts in the prompt, like I have a card that is actually a raccoon wearing a nurse's hat. It's in a tarot deck, an oracle deck by Collector and Reed. And so you'd be like, oh, what? So you're not going to get every single one, but you only have like 30 minutes or 35 minutes now. And whoever has the most prompts that they could find out of their list, they're the winner.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then there's going to be a team. So Tom and I will be the first team, and I'm interested to see who we're going to go up against.
Who's dared to go against
Oh, wow. 14-10, only by 4. Wow, Michelle.
Yeah, it was close. And 2 of those I thumbs down on because I was the judge today. So.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah.
Aw. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's fun, but believe me, it's stressful.
It's so stressful. You don't realize how
bad you really want to win.
Yes. and
like,
it's just how quickly 35 minutes goes. It's so crazy, or however long. I don't remember how long it was when we did it. Maybe 25. I don't remember. It was a little bit less, but it went so quick. And you're just like going through your cards. You're like, it's like,
my recommendation, what I would recommend is if you can't find it within the first 5 minutes, pass, or within the first 2 to 3 minutes, pass. You can always go back to it, because as you go through other cards, you're like, oh, that might be something I can use for that last one. So don't spend 10, 15 minutes on just one. Just keep passing. Because when I was up against Gerald, I had to pass my first 5. I couldn't find anything. And so it wasn't
Yeah.
until like the 5th or 6th card when I started to get, a few more. So definitely.
Yeah. The one key thing that I will tell anybody
All
that's
right.
going on scavenger hunt,
Mm-hmm.
buy the Lightseers Tarot. That deck will have
Yeah.
something you need. I don't have it. But I might before. I might end up buying it right before we do the other one.
Good, because it's just like I keep seeing it and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to,
It,
because it's like it's the one. It's kind of like when you're in a, how do I say this? It's just like, oh, it's the cool kids. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like everybody's
yeah,
got it. Well,
it's so not my
you know what I
aesthetic at
mean?
all,
Yeah.
and
But it's modern and it's got modern items in it.
yeah,
That's the thing. If you like, up to date. But
yeah.
what would you recommend? Any what's the word I'm looking for? Any advice you would give any future players, Tom?
Buy Lightseers. Always have an RWS on hand, and understand that, because like so many of the cards could be answered just with the RWS. Honestly, yep. Nobody, like, so many decks don't. That's why you have to have an RWS on hand, like just a
Yes.
normal, everyday, run of the mill RWS.
See, Jonathan, I wish I knew about the snail. Jonathan's been going on for several days now about snails not being in certain RWS decks. And I couldn't find my snail. If I had known, I could have grabbed, this one deck I have, because it's pretty much RWS with just, the keywords on it. I
Hmm.
bet you there's a snail in there. I could have used that. But I knew, Jonathan, if you were going to be in chat, that you would bring up the snail.
Yeah.
So snails need love too. Um, let's see. And Hershey. Oh, Care Bear, you're welcome to play with us. So Care Bear, if you're
Don't
interested,
do it. It's a
RWS
trap.
supplements sample time at Costco. There you go. I was told to what was that told? I was recommended. Miss Taro D was telling me that she found a nice deck at Marshall's.
Mm.
And so when I go shopping either tomorrow or on Monday, I have to go by our Marshalls and see if they have that deck there. But I saw so many decks at Barnes and Noble. But for me, they're just really the run of the mill.
Yeah,
Meaning,
most of them I don't.
unfortunately, I like the indie expensive ones. You know,
That's my problem.
there's a deck right now on Etsy, $76. I'm just like, I can't do it. But the artwork looks so fascinating. It's a new deck. And I'm waiting for someone to get it to do a flip through. And I'm
Which
trying to
deck is it?
remember something about doors. Somebody was featuring it recently. Someone mentioned it. I don't know if it was somebody in our community or a video that I caught. And I just remember going, ooh. And I went to, and yeah, it's like $75. There's
Yeah.
something called Open Doors or something doors. And it's like black and white, but it looks beautifully done. And I think the exhibit, like the artwork was exhibited at, what did Stephen Cosmic Orphan call it? Burning Man, at a
Oh,
Burning Man festival. So, yeah. So there's
Circle of
just
Doors.
Circle of Doors. Thank you.
Miss
How did you
Moonlight.
know?
Miss Moonlight in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Miss Moonlight. So that
I don't think I've seen that.
must have been her. So just checking really quick. I hate that deck. I don't know which one we're talking
He was talking
about.
about that was for Lightseers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot
Odelia.
of us do.
Hello, Heather and Tom. How are you both? We are doing good. Thank you, Odelia. I hope you and Fatima are well this evening. And Care Bear says, I would love to, Hershey. So keep your eye out, Care Bear,
You
as
victim.
contestant. Well, Tom, we got to have somebody to compete against. We just can't be the reigning, non-competing, team. So that's
Okay. I'm kind of liking this deck. I just went to it, and yeah, that seems pretty interesting.
75 to $76. Yeah. And there's another deck on Etsy. It is the Renaissance Surrealist. And if you're just starting out learning tarot, not a good deck because it's pretty much a face. It's a person in every card, and most of the cards have no suits represented in them. So you would have to know what the suits and the numbers represent. But the artwork is gorgeous, and being an artist and having gone to art history class and stuff, this deck is just absolutely beautiful, and it's like $65, $75, something like that too. Even on when I do a 20% off discount,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, I can't do that.
It hurts. I know. Speaking of surrealists, I just picked up the Salvador Dali
Here.
deck.
Ooh, let me put you on big so we can. Well, this is great so we can see it. There we go.
So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Sorry.
It's interesting. I'm not a Dali fan, but
I'm not a huge fan, honestly. Sorry,
those are long cards, though.
Yeah,
it must be fun to shuffle.
Yeah, it's definitely not the easiest thing, but I haven't actually even. I barely shuffled it. I've been trying to go through it. There's some cards in here that a little bit questionable, I think, in their approach. But
yeah,
I do like.
Well, there's always going to be one or two. I mean, I have some decks where it's just like, yeah, I might take the card, but if it's an oracle, I'll take it out. If it's a tarot, it's just like, But I do have two Los Scarabæos. One's the Telema or Thelema, however you want to pronounce it, and the Arcana. And it's the same artist, it's the same models for the cards. It's just different approaches to doing photographs. So I'll go through and whatever images I feel like working with, I'll just switch them out, and I'll have like 2 decks put together. So I've been playing around with that. And Kaylee is here. Hello, just catching up. Pogo Pogo. Lori Huntsinger has joined us. Let's see. Care Bear says Poppy Palin's tarot deck would be great for that, I bet. Everyday enchantment. Or grab the wild unknown for the animals.
Yeah, that's another key for anybody doing scavenger hunt. Have a couple animal decks. I use the wild unknown, not wild unknown, the woodland wardens. That one helped me for some things. That's an oracle deck. I don't really have that many animal decks. Oh, and I think the Oak Ash and Thorn, that one I had, and that helped.
And Jeff says, I don't even keep up with the imagery when I'm reading. Yeah. For a lot of people, it's just a quick image, and then that's like the what opens up the channel. Just having that physical card in your hand and a quick word, and then boom, because Jeff is really good at just seeing a word or a card, and boom, the poetry comes right out. Me, I like to kind of sit and craft and play, and him, it's just like, really cool watching do it.
Yeah, I like to take in the whole. If it's a couple cards or whatever, I like to see how they're interacting with each other, and that, and see how the elements of the cards, if they're looking at each other or not. That's always, I think, helpful too.
And Rosanna, who is Rossi, says Modern Witch also has some new modern items. Yes.
Well, decks I don't have.
Yeah, because for me, like I said, I am I don't want to say I'm a snob, but like I said, a lot of main decks that are out there, I'm just, for me, I have a lot of Colette Baron reads, and I'm kind of hesitant now about buying too many more from a story that I heard recently from a friend about getting to meet her and kind of seeing possibly what the true, entertainment purposes only. I'm not dissing Colette. I mean, we all have bad days, but
exactly, yeah.
It's still the artwork. And Jenna Della Gratalia, she is one of my favorite artists, and she has been actually working now with Angie Solins? I have that one deck here. It's an oracle deck. Shoot, it's not right where I can grab it. It's what's this called? It's the Hidden Heart or the Healing Heart But she does the artwork on these, and
Mm,
for the scavenger hunts, I pull these out because there's a lots of little details and little
yeah,
items. Even if an image is that small on your card, people, if it
it
still
counts.
fits the prompt, it counts.
As long as you can show it on your camera. That's the key thing.
Yes. And she's got a couple of other ones out, and she's also now doing her own. And I can't wait for April when she comes out with a new deck. So I really like Jenna Della Gratalia. I like how she works, uses her Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Mystical Moments has a snail. I don't know if that's going to, make Jonathan feel any better.
Yeah, I don't know why so many decks miss the snail. It's just
Yeah. I didn't even know there
weird.
was supposed to be a snail in there. All I know is that there's a bird, and some people like to play around with the different types of birds too.
Yeah.
Um, and Jeff says it's like the readings we do. Someone is talking through you, you remember nothing. Exactly. So we'll be like, "Hey, remember that reading?" No, sorry, because you got so many images, you got so many messages coming through that, you know, unless you read for people after a certain period of time, you'll be like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I remember reading for you on this. That was the same question you asked. I don't know if expecting a different answer or what, but um, sometimes those kinds of, questions start to grow on me a bit. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
let's think of a different question.
I mean, honestly, I tend not to read for other people a lot. So I
So, what do you
usually,
enjoy reading on, Tom? What
what
would
do I
that be
enjoy
for?
reading on? Which
Yes.
cards? Ooh,
Or
okay.
what kind of
So,
subjects? Like
oh,
what you pull cards on? Go, oh, I got to read on this. Is there
um,
like,
it's really just more like personal things that, thinking about like, just daily polls or just weekly outlooks, things like that.
mm-hmm,
Um, not too often that it's like a specific like it's nothing too external for me. It's usually keep it because I am one of these people that doesn't look too much at the
hi
woo
Dina?
of it.
Oh, you don't look at the
I
woo.
look at it more like as a psychological thing,
Okay.
you know, because I like the idea that it forces you to look at something differently.
Yes.
So when you're thinking about a scenario or something, it helps. I'm not saying I'm against woo or anything because God knows I'm uh, love of the magic and the occult and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's for me. I feel like it's a lot more in the head than it is external. So,
Very cool.
but
So it's basically looking in yourself
yeah,
using the psychology and the archetypes of the cards
it's
to
very
gain your own
archetypal. Yeah.
answers instead of relying on an outside source.
Yeah, I don't look to like spirit or that a lot of
Okay.
other people do. Like I know people have guides and things like that. That's just not something that I do. I'm getting into the idea more and more of deity work and stuff. That's not
Okay.
something I've really in all the years I've practiced that I've done too
Thanks,
much
Amy.
of.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, um, again, I still look at them as less external beings and more as archetypes. So
Now, there's a book that I recently got. Do I have it here? Yes, I do. And I got this at Five Below. And they have all different kinds of books on metaphysics and crystals and everything. But this one was there, and it's Psychology
hmm,
101. And they actually talk with Freud, and they talk about Jung. And what I
yeah,
didn't know about Jung is that he had to refrain from releasing a book of his. I think it was released posthumously after his passing, or just near the end where he knew it was just like, okay, my professional career or whatever. I don't
yeah,
have to about worrying about losing my professorship or anything or his credentials. But he was very fascinated with the alchemy aspects
yeah,
of the archetypes, and for him, it wasn't
yep,
about. He saw that it wasn't about the lead to gold. That was I know some alchemists really were trying to figure that
yeah.
out to make the Pope happy and whoever the king or whatever the queen that they were, who was sponsoring them. But for a lot of them, that was their way of examining and exploring spirituality outside of
Hmm.
Catholicism and Christianity
Yeah.
under the guise of, creating lead into gold, where it was more about taking the human substance, the prima materia, and creating an enlightenment, going to, and
Exactly.
it just fascinating. Partially why I wanted to start working on changing the channel name, because everywhere I was looking, I was seeing color alchemy. I was saying alchemy this. I'm like alchemy. I'm like, okay, I don't know, but it just kept coming. I'm like, okay, I get the message. And when I started looking into it, then I saw Freud and incorporating DBT, mindfulness, and radical acceptance and everything. It's all really becoming a big part of the woo community now in the oracle decks. And I
Yeah, I
know
mean,
that.
it definitely comes in it ebbs and flows. I think it comes in and out of fashion. Um, I find, but and I think it's probably a little bit on the upswing again. I think it went away for a little bit, and now it's coming back in the psychology
Mhm.
aspect again. But that's fine. I mean, that's how I prefer to look at things personally. But you know,
Archetypes, we all have a different, I learning more about the word Gnostic, and I'm like, that's kind of me. It's like
yeah,
I don't believe in one particular, you know, faith or religion. I don't like dogma, but at the
no,
same time, it's like taking there's levels of similarities, and just wanting to kind of even look past that even more, because some people really go in there deep about the Anunnaki and
yeah,
Illuminati and this, and we're alien food or alien slaves and things and stuff. And it's just like when you kind of like step back, it's like trying to like, okay, where do I
yeah,
fit into the scheme of things? And for me, I know that there is a spirit team out there, but I think a lot of the times that spirit team prefers us to work more on our own level and only reach out to them when it's
hmm
really something where, okay, I need a clue. And I feel that if we keep asking the same questions over and over, even to a different reader, just thinking maybe I'll get a different perspective, it's almost kind of like to them, you're not listening. Now
yeah,
you really need to figure this. So it's just like, yeah. And I think that's how we all relate on different levels. And
yeah,
Care Bear
no,
says, I go to her higher self for guidance.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're all doing the same thing, just different ways, and I think that's
Hmm.
fine. That's what makes it fun.
And as long
That's
as you're not hurting yourself
yeah,
or others, and it's your
exactly.
connection to however you see your higher power, you know then so be it. And a lot of times I've changed over the years. You learn about something, oh, this is
100%.
so me. And then after a while you get in there and you work with it. I'm like, okay. And then for me, I like to review every year. Usually it's around Samhain, because for me, that's when I feel like my energy, my connection to spirit is stronger, and my art is the strongest because of the colors, the time of the year. And that's when I
Mm,
really like to start reflecting, starting from Samhain up until Imbolc, Ostara, just kind of reflecting on everything and going, okay, what beliefs still ring true? Which ones do I feel like maybe I need to relook at? And it's because a lot of times I meet people in chat, I meet fellow readers, I'll come across different videos that people will recommend, and I'll see a totally different viewpoint, and I'll be like, okay, that changes that. So as long as we don't stagnate and we're willing to look outside the realm, you know, of
mhm.
possibilities, I think that's a way of having a really healthy, spiritual
Oh,
practice.
100%. Yeah, I
And
mean,
yes,
you can ask me the same question like in 2 days from now, and I'm probably gonna have a different answer because it's always fluid for me. Just the way I look at things. I come from a more, and when I really kind of started down this journey, it was like in the early 90s. And I was really interested in like chaos magic and the idea of that. I like the idea
really.
of shifting from different systems constantly,
Mhm.
just different belief systems, and just going all in on it, and then just dropping it and going to another one. And I love that it was so results oriented. Um,
It's what oriented?
Results oriented. Like it was
Results.
very
Okay.
much about documenting what you did,
Hmm.
how you got there, did it work, why didn't it work, things like that. Which is really, it was really nice at the time for me. That was my main focus for a long time. The
Kind
way
of
I
like
looked
high
at things.
magic, kind of like doing the whole ritual and then saying, okay, what resonated, what actually worked, what did I feel like calling in this deity or this
Yeah.
being, and what kind of results, like you said, did I
Yep.
get? Was it positive? Was it negative? Do I, So yeah,
Yeah.
getcha, totally.
Yeah. And I've always loved the idea of like real ceremonial magic, like,
Hmm.
Thelema and OTI. I know you're not a huge, you're not a big fan of Crowley, but
Well, Crowley gives me the creeps. I'll be honest with you.
yeah, I mean,
You know,
he'd be very happy for you to hear that. Uh,
I'm sure.
he he was a showman a lot
Yeah.
of the time, but he was extremely influential to I think
Yes.
a lot of what we have today. So,
Yeah.
um,
Along with Gardner starting kind of
oh
like
yeah,
getting the whole Gardnerian Wicca and stuff. And even then, when I
exactly.
found out Gardner and him, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah,
And that information made me take a step back and go, okay, now do I want my energy to be connected to an energy that, yes, for me right now, apparently, from what like you and Hershey and them say, it's not quite that, but for me, I'm not quite there yet connecting to that aspect of it or
yeah,
that
and that's fine.
understanding. All I know for me right now is that that energy, when it brings, I try to think about that, I want to bring that in. It's just like,
Yeah,
and all the hairs. So I have to listen, internally, but maybe down the road as I get older, maybe that will change and maybe it will get stronger or maybe it'll just stay the same. You
and
just
and
never
that's
know. We're
fine.
all different.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we're all different. Hey, Miss Tara
And
D.
well, Miss Tarot, I know I'm a little far behind, but I just wanted to show Dina says the Lenormand. And yes, I like Lenormand because aside from the Grand Tableau, you read them in, you know, well,
That is
French.
a system that I need to learn, and I am woefully ignorant of. So
Care Bear. One of my favorites is Tarot of the Abyss. And yes, Tarot has so many cards to remember. That's why
yeah,
I really don't do reversals unless a card does come out reversed. Where I keep them upright, but if a card comes out reversed, I'm like, no, okay, this is really important. We really need to focus on that card, and that's how I'll
yeah.
look at it.
I'm very intentional when I shuffle, so it's very rare for something to come up reverse for me.
Mhm.
So
Hey
when it
Jay,
does, it's important.
let's see, Jonathan. I love that Heather. We sprawl back to the things we know and learn more each time. And some of those
Mhm.
things that I used to know just no longer resonate with
Yeah,
me. And sometimes it makes me a little sad because it's like, wow, when I was in my 20s, this was so strong for me. And now that I'm 53, it's kind of like it isn't anymore. And I kind of feel like that emptiness, that loss, but I know I can't go back because then it's not authentic for me. Um, let's see. Both hello, Jay. Yes, I said hi to Jay. And I know Miss Tarot D, hello. I'm just trying to catch up here with there's something about honoring your path. Yes, and there
yeah.
she is. Hello, my dear. Oh, if any of you didn't get to see Miss Tarot D's new wig, she was absolutely stunning last night with Deanne Chillmaiden and
I missed
Tanya
it.
when they're talking about mermaids, and just absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I mean, Heather,
Um,
like what you're saying though. I mean that's the beauty of it. I mean, you might have be nostalgic. You might feel bad that you don't feel the same way that you felt about something, but that's growth. I mean,
it is.
that's that's a sign that you are expanding and you're growing, and that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of miss that old self, but now I think too that I'm
Mhm.
older and wiser in certain aspects. I kind of know more of, for me, oh, how do I put this without stepping on toes? Um, but for me, there was a lot of hypocrisy in the pagan
Yeah.
community. Um, there still is a little bit. It's gotten much better, but when I was younger and I was trying to bridge because I was raised Catholic,
Hmm.
and so as I got older and I met a friend who said, "I know you're going to flip out, but I'm learning witchcraft," and of course I was like, "No," but she's like, "No, wait, introduce me to Scott Cunningham." she invited me to a Samhain. That was my first celebration ever, was a Samhain. And walking in there, I was kind of like, why are these people wearing cloaks? I couldn't quite. But when I walked in and I saw this huge, beautiful cauldron, and there were fruits and flowers, and, everybody was smiling, welcoming me. I had my cross on, and nobody, at least at that point, nobody was upset with me. It was just like I felt more community and more accepted at that Samhain circle. But then unfortunately, I had to later learn that just because there is a Wiccan rule or a Wiccan read of not harming, many do. But like
People
I
are
tell
people.
people, people are people. Yep.
Bringing it right back to the beginning.
Right back
Keep
to
the passion.
Depeche Mode. Um, and so for me, it reflected on both sides. And it was just like if I accidentally said, well, I wish somebody Merry Christmas instead of Yule, I got reprimanded. Sorry. So it's like I shouldn't have to be on pins and needles
Yeah.
with a person who should understand what the hypocrisy is of being judged for. And, yeah, my teacher, my introduction to Wicca and Pagan 101 was Breed Foxon, and she was Silver Ravenwolf's teacher. And a lot of people know who Silver Ravenwolf is, some don't. But that was a little disappointing because in a lot of her books, she talked about not having any, you know, being respectful of other people's faiths and things and stuff, especially if it's Catholic. And when I met her, and had her sign my Angels book, and I told her, was raised Catholic. What was the first thing out of her mouth? Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So it's like you're presenting one thing. So, you know what I mean? So for me, spirituality, because I think it's so close to your spiritual essence, your soul, that I am much more guarded now, or I try to be. And it's sad that I have to be more boundaries need to be in place than what I grew up thinking they would be because of, not everybody follows the rules,
Yeah.
Wiccans, Christians, you know, anybody. And
The
so
reality
that's just the
is,
one thing. Yeah.
dogma is dogma, and it's
Yeah.
just it's in every facet of every group, unfortunately, to some extent.
Yeah.
It might not be as noticeable at first, but it's there usually. That's why I tend to not like a lot of groups. I've never really joined any orders or anything like that. I've had my chances. I thought about it, and I was no, no. I mean, I've thought about the OTO and Temple of Psychic Youth and stuff, but no, not.
Mm-hmm. And growing up, Shan, had taken some classes with the Rosicrucians. He was
Yeah,
interested.
yeah,
His mom was, interested in goddess and, goddess celebration and honoring and the divine feminine. And he was into Tao. He's got books on Tao. He doesn't really follow it anymore, but it's still every now and then we like to go back and we find little bit of kernels of truth. And so
yeah,
at some point, I we really aren't going to know until when we get back to the other side, and our understanding of the spirit world and beyond is just so much more than we can comprehend. you
yeah,
know and some days I find that very frustrating because it's like, damn, I want to know how I can direct the rest of my life and figure stuff out. But is I guess that's just not how you play the game. And
yeah,
Jonathan, yes, if I ever feel like I need to walk on eggshells around someone, I'm not likely to be around that much. And Miss Tarot D agreed. Amen
yeah.
to that. And Hershey, yes, I still recommend that book to people
Mm.
because Silver Ravenwolf, like Scott Cunningham, but I think Silver Ravenwolf more actually post questions. Say, okay, you're interested in Wicca and witchcraft. Great. Why? And she would pose all these questions. What are you hoping to obtain from it? Is it to enhance your spirituality? Do you want to do spell work? Do you want that to improve your life? Do you want to use that, to possibly hurt somebody? What do you, I mean, she really made people think, in her books. So I always recommend that one too to people, to ride a silver
Yeah.
broomstick.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
not a huge fan of hers, but I mean, I recognize the importance that she brought a lot of people
Hmm.
into this arena, really. And it's good. I mean, that's always good to make people think and to make people question
Hmm.
things. And
But
yeah,
I
I
always
appreciate
recommend
that.
Scott Cunningham because
Yeah,
Scott was always ethics first. He was from everything that you did, just not just the energy work, the words you spoke, the ingredients that you used.
hmm,
Is that, pearl? You have to acknowledge that had to come from a creature
yeah,
that needed to die.
yeah,
I mean, he was very intent on making sure you knew exactly what your ethics were, what your tools or what your practice would cause to another living creature. And that's why I always say Scott Cunningham. And it's just too bad we lost him so early, but he still has all this wonderful, you know, um, his knowledge that
yeah.
you can still find him too on bookshelves. What I'm disappointed in is that you really don't see DJ Conway, you don't see Margot
No,
Adler, you don't see Starhawk. And it's
no,
like, come on,
you
people.
don't.
But I go to Barnes and Noble and I see like 30 books on the same subject with different people, just basically rehashing the same stuff. And not to knock that very may well be their practice, but a lot of this is mass marketing. And so even though it's more mainstream and it's right there, for people to say, hey, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
This is like, I think they said this is the biggest growing religion or spirituality is paganism and
yeah,
people looking outside of, you know, patriarchal or modern day dogma or religious beliefs. And but when you still see that same, and you look at it and you pick it up and you're kind of like, where are the people who really practice, who really was there at the forefront, who put themselves out there on the front line? Why are they not on the shelves too,
yeah.
you know?
It is very frustrating when it's I understand times change and audiences change and they want different things and maybe we're just old people yelling at clouds, but it's just it's
Yeah.
it's frustrating to not see those because yeah, it does seem like there's a lot of just fluff out there now that's just
Yeah.
not so much substance and it's really
Mm-mm.
frustrating and you really there's
Substance, thank you.
there's a huge boon right now of occult books. Like I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, actually, that like, because I was practicing for a good, 15, maybe 20 years, and then I just kind of stopped in a, for no reason. It just kind of died down for a while. Um, maybe for like about 10 years, and then I recently got back into like maybe like 5, 6 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I kind of got back into the whole practice and really started getting back into like tarot and stuff because before then I really only had a few decks. I had started with Thoth and things like that, but I was very surprised at how different the landscape was just in that short amount of time that I took off. That like sigil magic was huge now.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I like it wasn't as big back in the day
Yeah.
for me, like in the 90s and everything, like I remember explaining it a lot to people what it was, which was, but now it's like a very accepted thing across all groups, which is great. Um, but also just the idea of grimoires. There's so many grimoires that are now available,
Mm-hmm.
like the ancient grimoires and stuff that you can get and that are translated well. Um, it's not something that I would like necessarily practice from, but I always like looking at it from a historical viewpoint. I think it's interesting to look at how people um, thought about magic and the practice in general. But like, there's just so many available now, and there's such a it's all mail order basically.
Yeah.
You have to be ordering from these small publishing houses, which is both good and bad. I like supporting
That's why I like
these companies.
Pinterest.
Yeah, Yeah.
I have a lot of boards where I find so many, interesting layouts. I mean, I usually don't do spreads, but they give me ideas and people's, cheat sheets and different ways of looking at tarot, reading oracle. I absolutely, I'm not crazy about all the ads now because I remember when Pinterest first came out, you didn't get swamped with all
Hmm.
these ads, but now that's the way of the world. Um, but yeah, I have several boards where I just love to collect and learn and art wise and everything. So for me, Pinterest is a great
Yeah.
resource too. Um, Dina said that I got away from Wicca and focused more on shamanism. And Jonathan mentioned DJ Conway. I still have her by Oak, Ash, and Thorn. I probably said that backwards, but I still have one of the original copies of that by her. And Cunningham's books are easy to read.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Um, and let's see, Jonathan said, same. Once I realized how dogmatic the Wiccans I met were, I was not interested in being one. Yeah, so same thing with me. And here, Moira, yes,
Yeah.
Christopher Penzick. Now, he does Reiki as well. I had actually bought his Reiki book and I looked at the symbols. And after a while, this was like after I had left Arizona, after having my Reiki 1 and 2 and my Reiki crystal classes, my attunements. And by then, it was just like the symbols weren't talking anymore. I wasn't resonating with them.
Hmm.
And then I had people saying to me, well, then you're not trying hard enough. You're not willing to work with the symbols you know, because apparently something was wrong with me if I wasn't connecting to,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but symbols really aren't for me. I don't need a symbol yet. There's like one, the chokeray, which I love because it felt like a music symbol. It was
Hmm.
going inward, it could go outward. And for me, that's a big part of, my life, the music, the art going inward, listening to music, create. So for me, I naturally gravitated towards that. But that's one of the other aspects too of spirituality, and a lot of times too with the community is that if you're not always, if you're not thinking positive, then you're not going to be able to. So
Yeah.
there comes in that toxic spirituality and
Yeah.
positivity that we have to be on top of, because then we don't want, because some people, it takes them a while, or it's just they don't resonate. We all are different, and is that because there's something wrong with us? We just relate to the energy differently. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's very much true. Yeah. The toxic positivity is always an issue in the spiritual community and as a whole. It's I think something that's just always going to be there. It's very easy to slip into that, and I think it's very easy to kind of group think that. But
Hmm. Group
um,
think, yeah.
and it's just one of those things that I think eventually people move away from. But like it's as I think as people age out of it a little bit, I think newer people come in, and it's just one of those cycles that it's going to be a hard one to break. I don't know.
Yeah. And Kaylee said it shocked me walking into the bookstore the other day and they had a full wall and
Mm,
display of tarot.
it's a lot of money in
And
tarot right now.
our Barnes and Noble completely remodeled about 2 years ago. And the tarot used to be originally in the back. Then it was near the cafe. And I was like, well, where is it? And they say, oh, it's up front. So here you have a wall facing the registers that are, like biography or whatever, but right around the corner there, boom, there's the
Wow.
metaphysical, there's the UFOs, the paranormal, and then there's the display right there for the tarot. And I'm just like, wow. And yet the Christianity is in the back. It's just, yeah. And so she says, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it's really is becoming mainstream,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you know, the
I
mass
just
market.
like I can't believe like I said when I came back kind of back into everything, I was shocked at how many decks there were out available now. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just
It's mind blowing.
it's an amazing time to be into it because there's so many options. There's also a lot of crap out there,
Mm-hmm.
but um but there's some real gems that I think are going to be important decks for a very long time. You
And
know,
hello, Miss Book Bewitched. Thank you for joining us. It's interesting to see the same dogmatic control that the church
yeah,
did begin to try to push its way in here. and
Yeah.
and vice versa. And Jonathan and Miss Tarot D were talking about the Emerald Lotus Divination. It's a website for learning divination.
Hmm.
And Gerald and I did a live the other day for the Tina Gone book. She's labyrinth labyrinthos. Oh, I can never say it. I
Oh,
don't want to say
yeah.
the
Yeah.
labyrinthos.
Labyrinthos.
And
Yeah.
it's spendy, but yet at the same time on Pinterest, the cards they share the cards and they talk about and they have an app too that teaches you how to look at the astrology, at the Lenormand, and at the tarot. And I really like those too. I use those as a reference in my on my cheat sheets on my boards on Pinterest. They
Hmm.
have a wonderful and here I'm just trying to catch up. Wonderful conversations everybody's
Yeah.
having. This is what I love. Miss Moonlight, I had someone who tried to push me into mediumship, and I had to say over and over, it's not my path. My path is divination.
Hmm.
And you stood your ground. Well, may
That's
it
good.
change over time? Could very well. You
Hmm.
might be like one moment you do your divination, then one day you might be like, ooh, wait a minute, what is this? And you're like, oh, this feels right now. It's like everybody's path is not the same, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, some of the things that I kind of cringe a little bit, and because you don't want to have anyone think that you are talking against another fellow reader or what they believe in. But I'm been seeing this habit of someone saying, well, my guides say, and then another person, well, my guides say. And so it's kind of like, well, I don't feel right about this, but why? My guides say. And so a lot of two is, again, how we communicate, how we process with our spiritual team. And, you know, I understand that some people, this may be the message you feel you're getting from your guides, and it could very well be. But we have to remember, we don't know how, the other side is just so unknowable. It's knowable, but yet unknowable. And so perhaps for that particular person, their guides are telling them this right now because they're not meant to know something that maybe another you know what I mean? It's just, again, it's almost kind of like, well, instead of he said, she said, it's my guide said, your guy said. And I'm starting to see that trickle in a little bit. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody else has. And I just smile and say, okay, thank you for sharing. And I'll jot it down. But in all, it's what feels right to you. And if it doesn't feel right to you in your gut, you got to listen to that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
My
that's,
guides can take your guides, something kind of like, but yeah. Um,
yeah. It's,
yes, the gatekeeping of guides, Miss Moonlight, you hit it. Gatekeeping. There's a lot of that
it's,
too. I'm
yeah,
seeing in the
it's
community. Mm-hmm.
the tale as old as time. I mean, that's just when you have the idea of secret knowledge and, things like that. I mean, there's always going to be some sense of gatekeeping. And,
Yeah.
it's sad. I mean, that was one of my things. I was always much more interested in the idea of, I used to say, like demystification of the magical process. Making sure everything should be explainable. Everything you should be able to understand why things work, why things happen. Um, and I think once you can get to that point, it'll help you understand the universe as a whole, really. And I think that's a personal journey that people have to take. And I don't think that's something that necessarily somebody can tell you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
there's people that can help you and help push you in the right direction, I think. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Knowledge should be for everybody. Should be out there for
Mm-hmm.
everybody.
Gatekeeping of knowledge. Eve kicked out of Eden. Yep.
There you go.
Very interesting. So, well, we are at 8:55.
Oh,
How's your
wow.
energy doing? I didn't know. I love the conversation. I didn't know
Yeah.
if there was something else that you wanted to move on to. If we wanted to, but there's just one thing I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of clarify where I'm coming from. Um, Again, with different people's spirituality. Now, what was it last year? I think it was, or 2 years, no more than 2 years ago. On the news, it showed that the Dalai Lama was holding an audience, and this was being televised.
Mhm.
And there was a family there with a little boy, and he saw the little boy and told the little boy to come up, and the parents are going, go see Dalai Lama. And the boy goes up, and the Dalai Lama starts telling the boy, kiss me. And the boy kissed him, and then he stuck his tongue out and told the boy to suck his tongue.
Yeah.
And I just about shit a brick. Excuse my language. Now I presented my feelings to two readers in our community who I respect. And I said, this isn't right. How can this be? Why is this? And they were just like, well, my God, say he did not mean anything bad by it. He's just all love and light. And it was just like they were almost like offended that I brought it up in a way. Not offended, but just kind of been like, no, 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 kind of like, and I felt a little dismissed. And they said, well, that's, their culture. And I'm thinking, well, this is where we need to start relooking at our culture, because our children are the most precious thing, along with, of course, animals and children. They're angelic. We need to protect them. And I'm sorry, I don't care if something's been held for 1,000, I don't care how long, or people might seem, children should not be asked to suck on a grown man's tongue.
No.
I don't
No.
care if you are a holiness or whatever. That is a child. You are an adult. And we really need, and this is where we're at this time now in this world with this evolution. Everyone keeps talking about this ascension. So why are we picking and choosing, what no child should have to? No, that's a child. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And could this be clout looks? I was abused by a family member, my brother. Not for long, but I was, and other women in my family have had experience. So automatically for me, I'm like, okay, can I step back? Says it trigger? It was triggering, yes, but it's because I know that children need to be protected.
Yeah.
There's not enough of that, and this was a clear moment where we could have all said, and and there was a bit of there was an outrage, and the
I
Dalai
remember
Lama
that.
was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry. No, this was the opportunity where he should have said, you know what, this is outdated, or people come and saying, okay, these may have been things that we have held for years, but we have to move forward, we have to ascend. I'm sorry, but no child should be asked to suck on a grown adult's
No.
tongue. I don't care
Anything.
who you are. I
It's
mean,
like,
it's
no.
bad enough what's going on in the Catholic Church, what
Yeah.
happens to the women, in the Muslim and Islam faiths. And I'm not knocking the faiths, because there's a lot of progressive men and women, in that faith, trying to bring the faiths forward and trying to highlight and elevate and leave that patriarchal control behind. And of all spiritual beings, Buddhism, the Dalai Lama, this was a prime moment to say, okay, no, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And when I brought that up, I was pretty much dismissed right away. And I stand firm on it. They said, well, my guides, and that's where my guides say, okay, I understand your guide said that, but we need to still have this conversation. Children need to be protected.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think some
they're
people
they're,
probably
they're
just don't
not
want to
being, and
have.
they're not.
Yeah, some people probably just don't want to have that conversation, or maybe it's just uncomfortable for them for whatever reason. There might be
Mhm.
reasons that we don't know about. I don't know, but yeah, no,
Mhm.
it's
And I'm
it's not
sorry.
good in any. Nobody should be doing that in any setting, in any
Mhm.
group or
And
culture.
I didn't mean to trigger you, Book Bewitched, but this was just an opportunity I wanted to bring forward, saying if we are talking about ascending and getting past the 3D into the 5D or whatever, we have to look at this and say, okay, maybe he didn't mean that way, but we still need to have a conversation, say that this isn't acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very
And
healthy to have conversations
that
about things.
wasn't discussed. It was completely just, and so yeah. Um, a lot of people know, with the true crimes and stuff, but I'm also very passionate about protecting children,
Yeah.
and so yeah. I'm sorry, Miss Tarody, but I won't keep. But I'm just saying these are opportune moments for us to learn and grow as the human race, to evolve, especially
Ex-
spiritually.
Exactly.
And so, and right now the conversation is more in the mainstream. It's becoming more and more about the plight of children and young women, men, and it's becoming more. And so there's more light
Yeah.
being shined on it, and that's a good thing. But we have to take, what's the word? Take responsibility and accountability too.
Yeah.
In our spiritual communities as well. Um,
It's very true.
yes, exactly, Moira. So we did discuss it backstage about throwing some cards.
You did.
Did you want to do a like a collective?
We could. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm fine.
What
I
would
mean, I know we've been on what for about an hour now. I'm
yeah.
okay to go a little longer, so I'm fine.
Yes, so and hello TK. Thank you for joining us. Hugs to you back as well. Just maybe got pulling cards for the upcoming week, you know. Just trying to
Sure.
see what we get for the collective for everybody. And I didn't mean to bring it down on, I just felt like this was an opportunity to kind of have rally our spiritual community to start working towards, really looking at, for me, authenticity is
Yeah.
my word for this year. I need to really be authentic with myself. I have to be transparent. Am I going to drop the ball a few times? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, I really feel like we are moving in a good direction. Things are really bad in the world right now, but there's a lot of good in the world right now too. And so we just have to keep, moving forward with that. And that needs to happen on all levels,
Yeah.
you know. Um, what deck should I? Should I use my Lenormand's, Mozzie? Okay, he's laying on top of my Lenormand's.
That's what I'm trying to figure out what I'm pulling from.
Wait a minute, they're not in there, cat. What did you do with them? Well, I guess maybe not. Here, let's use now do a little plug while using these. I have the deck of the Haunted House, which I like to use on Jackie, and I like to use too on our true crime. And now Spiritual Rain has a copy. And a quick plug, Tuesday, I believe it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The writer, not the artist, but the writer, Sasha Graham, is going to be a guest on Jackie's channel. Jackie, Rain, and I are going to be interviewing her on Jackie's channel and discussing her deck, the
That's
house
cool.
of the Tarot of the Haunted House. So
Yeah, I don't have that deck, but it is an interesting deck. I
yeah,
do
it's a whole
like it.
storyline. It's really cool. And believe me, it works really well for crime cases, true crime cases and stuff.
Oh
It
my
adds a
god,
whole
I keep
different.
dropping cards. Oh my
Whoa,
god.
whoa! One just flipped out. Well, there we go. That's a good one. So yeah, the cards are based on a story of Ray. Her name is Raven. I think it's Raven Wadsworth or something like that. I have to really watch the videos and get caught up. But she inherits a mansion, and it's got all these dark twists and turns and things. And the artist is actually apparently a well-known um, um, graphic novel um, artist.
Yeah,
And we were trying to see if we can get them to join us too, but just because of their scheduling and
yeah,
we weren't able to do it. But I always love to remind people that you can't have a deck without an artist, and
exactly.
and if the creator isn't the artist themselves, then they're like, oh, Colette Baron Reed decks. I'm like, yeah, but Colette Baron Reed would be nowhere without Jenna Del Gratalia, because she's predominantly the artist that created them. So yeah. And also being mindful too of places like Amazon and Temu that are selling bootleg decks as well.
Very frustrating. Yeah, please,
Yes.
everybody, just buy your decks from the creators if possible. It's so rampant now.
I was actually looking for the Tilwick deck on Amazon because I'm absolutely falling in love with it. Sadhna has been doing like a she goes on for about an hour and she's been pulling out the cards
Yeah.
and sharing the I mean just absolutely beautiful, and how she just talks about the art and how it makes her feel and the colors and the palettes. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I went looking for it, see maybe if it was on Amazon, and I saw it and I went, wait a minute, $17. I pulled it up and it says, here's a QR code for that. I'm not, there we
Nope.
go. It's a
Yeah, unfortunately, they're eventually going to get, as more and more
Bye, Miss
people start to
Carol.
understand it.
Have a good night.
Hi, Miss Tardy. Hi, Michelle Marie.
Michelle, just in time. We've been having a really great conversation.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
Yeah. I like having conversations just as much as, like I said, you can just ask the cards questions so much out of the week, where it's nice to just be able to kick back and just have, conversations.
Exactly.
Okay.
Tildwick. Yeah, I picked up the 10th anniversary of that Moira. I still have not gotten comfortable reading with that deck, but I do like it.
It's beautiful. It's so the cards that she's been showing and the way she talked, and she's so insightful about each of
Yeah.
So let's see, what do I got on the bottom? Okay. For this week collective. It's interesting how some deck with the artists, and this is a perfect example of a tarot deck that is more of the storyline than the actual tarot, and so you kind of have to fit in a little bit, the knowledge of. So you really like want to read it as a story, but then also connecting it with the actual meaning of the tarot. Were you set, or do you want me to go?
You can go.
Okay.
I'm working through this one.
Thomas Thicking.
Yeah.
Hi, Nancy. She was in lurking mode tonight. Well, thank you for lurking. Let's see. Hello, Sharon. Thanks for popping in. So
Hey,
I
Sharon.
got the first card is the World card. And so Raven has gotten the key. And it's so funny because I thought this was a scissors because my eyes aren't as good as they were. And Jackie was like, well, she's holding the key. And I said, key, I thought that was a scissors. So that's the joke now. She's holding the key. I mean the scissors. I mean the key. But no, she's got the keys. This is the World card. She's gone through the fool's journey through this house. She's got the keys. She owns the house, and she has basically control of, for me, and this is the environment. So for me, the World card, having a sense of security within yourself and within your home and with yourself within the world. um you hold the key. The key is right there, like Tom and I were talking about earlier. Cards with their archetypes, we all have the answers. We hold the key. Decisions coming up this week, we might have to make some choices. I got the Two of Swords. I also got the Six of Pentacles, which is to me another balancing, like the Two of Swords. So having to kind of maybe watch giving money, watching what we spend, maybe giving to those to who we can. And I love it because she's actually feeding the mice or the rats that are in the mansion. They were hungry, and she, instead of trying to kill them, she gave them food. So she was showing them kindness and caring. So just being mindful and caring, of making sure that um making sure you know who you are giving money to, if you can be able to give financially, because sometimes, we get into these situations where people are like, but don't you have 20 bucks I can borrow or whatever. Again, boundaries and being able to know what you can give and what you can't give. um and this is just money too, though. This could be stability. I mean, again, not wanting to, and not dredging up what's going on specifically, but we got so much stuff going on in this world. that we really need to know also where we're giving our time, our money, and our attention to as well. Then I got the Queen of Swords. There's her book. She's thinking, she's analyzing. To me, this could be maybe looking at the finances in the books. What can and I cannot do. Um, and then the last card, which kind of for me brings it all around. And again, this can also be feeling having that sense of security or stability. I did get the Four of Pentacles, and then this deck is like a little voodoo doll. And so it's holding on to or watching what you are holding on to, or feeling like if you hold on too much because of that sense of scarcity, of fear. Um, when you know what you can and cannot do, and for me too, I feel like a lot of this is referencing journaling, writing in your journal, thinking, putting your thoughts down on paper. Um, and then with this little doll here, I don't like dolls that look like that. But you know, just kind of keeping to yourself. Sometimes the people, these cards are read like as someone's being miserly. But in this time, just kind of holding on, keeping to your chest, feeling safe, feeling secure, being stable, and just knowing that it's the world card. Everything's coming full circle. You have the key. You're safe in your home, and just to be able to manage that. And I'll go over to you.
All right. So I pulled 3 cards. Interesting. So just I'll say I'm reading from the let's see if we can get it, the Rider Mercedes, the new deck from Artisan Tarot. Loving this deck. It combines Tarot de Marseille imagery with the RWS system. It's really cool. I like it. So I'm just getting used to it still, but I thought it'd be fun to read with it tonight. So first thing I got was Queen of Swords, and sorry for the glare.
Hey, I got that too.
So what I like about this is that it's a card of action. Honestly, I mean, it's a sword suit. It's this. She is very confidently looking forward into the week. She's telling you to go forth, but she's also telling you, she's got her hand on her sword. She's got it. But she's solid in her protection of it. So do what you need to do this week. Go forward. Get your work done. Whatever that is for you. I think this is, going across for everybody. Now, at the end of the week, run into a bit of a 10 of swords, which again, I think is I look at it as a positive. It's the end of the cycle. It's you've succeeded at whatever you are doing. You have finished. That work is done. The queen has told you to go forth, do your work. You completed the task. Then you get the good old 7 of Cups. So once you complete everything, you have options now. Everything is kind of right there for you. Are they good? Are they bad? That's for you to decide, but they're all there. You have all the options there for you. So I think focus on the things that you need to get done this week, whether that's an internal thing for you or whether that is, just regular work. Maybe there's the task that you need to get done that you feel is needed. But I think if you do the work, you put the work in, you'll get to the end. Everything will be done. You'll be done. That burden will be off you by the time, and you will have the riches that you can choose from. So I think that's all I have from that.
Nice. Alrighty. There was something I wanted to. Yes. First, he said, "I like that deck, Tom. It fits my style."
It's a fun deck. I really do like it. It's taking me a little bit of getting used to, but It's very traditional RWS in the way it reads, but the imagery is great that it pulls all the TDM stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting how the different artists will interpret the suits, especially the courts. And when you're talking about, she's sitting on her throne and she's got her hand on her sword, and I'm looking, well, she's got her hand on her book. But then again, something that takes me back to when I was trying to connect with Archangel Michael, because I know the sword, and I was, raised with the shield and the sword and the armor and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And I was just kind of like, when I actually went to sit and meditate with him, because I know that I needed more protection and boundaries, especially during readings and where we're living right now at this apartment and whatnot. I really needed an extra sense of security. And so when I'm sitting there, meditating, I go into, it was a library, like a big old fashioned library, like back in the older days when, when you would go in the Victorian and you saw the big, huge shelves and the books, kind of like a gentleman's almost like room, and there was this big desk. And I saw, him just sitting there regular, that black suit or clothes, or I mean, it was casual. And I remember sitting in my meditation going, okay, is this right? But I told myself, don't, you know, just stick with it. And I'm like, he had books and he had a, pen in his hand writing and stuff. And I remember, looking, going, well, where's your sword? How do you, and the thought was, well, can't the pen be as mighty as the sword?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, ding. And I'm like, okay. He goes, yeah, I still have my, a sword or whatever to cut. He said, but he goes, remember, pen's writing are just as powerful, as a sword. And when I was looking at your Queen of Swords and looking at mine, I was like, there she is. She's in her book. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
That is just as powerful as pulling out a sword. And she has that full library. So
Very
yes,
much. Yeah.
we don't necessarily need a weapon. Our intellect, our knowledge,
Yep.
our education, knowing, again, like what we were talking about tonight, knowing what is right for us.
Exactly.
And once we know what is right for us and what we believe in, then we can walk our walk and we can stand tall, and that energy comes off as a protective energy. So it all webs, it's all related. It all comes in and moves and weaves within itself. So um and thank you, Sharon. Yes, happy birthday to everybody who's having a birthday this month.
Yeah.
And she's sending prayers and hugs. And let's see. And Jonathan says, "Oh yes, Jonathan is almost up to 1,000 apparently. So congratulations, Jonathan. Let's get him up to 1,000. Everybody, go over to Jonathan. He
Yeah.
just did some wonderful readings today with Hershey and Betsy.
That was a great show.
And I had a great reading from the three of them. Wow. So Jonathan's getting back into the flow. Let's get him up there. I'm almost at 700. I'm a few subscriptions away. So, yeah, it's been just a really good weekend. And let me make sure I haven't missed anything that somebody wanted to share. I'm behind in the show. How does one hate keep a guide? What? Wait a minute. I'm behind in the
I think
show.
maybe she meant gatekeep.
How does one, gatekeep a guide? Um, that's a good question.
People do.
Um, I don't know about guides, how specifically, but when, again, like I was saying, not to step on any other person's toes on what they channel and the messages they receive,
Yeah.
because our relationships with our guides are personal ones. And I am not going to tell somebody that your guide is wrong, but when I sit there and I just ask a question about how does, well, we won't go back into it. It was a little bit of a heavy topic, a little bit, Michelle, but it was just kind of pointing out like
Yeah.
the accountability we need to start having in our community. And when I see outside of our community and other tarot readers and their subscribers just kind of like, even with tarot and spirituality, you still feel this goo. There's still like sometimes an ick to certain things. And
Yep.
People say, well, when one guide says it's okay to do, there's nothing wrong with that. And that it's just, yeah, we kind of had this conversation, and we just want to kind of end it on a positive note. But it's just about really taking accountability,
Yeah.
and being able to, but yeah, that might be an interesting discussion to have on a panel or something some evening, just to
Yeah.
kick back, and share our thoughts and our insights. But the
Yeah. I mean,
conversations, go
that's
ahead.
the thing. It's like just because you do something, and I'm using the general you, not you, but just because you do something differently than I do, I'm not going to say it's the wrong way to do it. You
Yeah.
know, and I think when speaking about guides and stuff like that, it's not something that that's not something for me. But plenty of people that
Mhm.
I am friends with, and I 100% trust the insights that they give and get from their guides. Um, I can't explain it. I don't know where it's from.
Mhm.
I don't know if is it something external? Is it something internal? I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, I'm completely agnostic when it comes to that kind of thinking. Um, I like I said, I said earlier. I mean, we're all kind of doing the same thing, just doing it differently. We're getting
Mhm.
to the same place, and I love that because I love being able to have the conversations about that.
Yeah. And they're important because, I understand people want to stay in a positive energy, a positive mind state, but
Yeah.
the pendulum doesn't just keep swinging one way. It has to
It's,
go back and
yep.
forth. And if there isn't, then there's no balance because there's no clarification or a ways to gauge really what is truly right,
Yeah.
especially what is right for us. And again, sometimes things that are right for us might hurt another person. And so that's where we really need to start taking a step back
Yep.
and looking at ourselves, in a spiritual mirror, you know, um, and in our beliefs and what we are willing to stand up for and what we aren't. And so I was a little disappointed that evening. Um,
Yeah.
I would have liked to have them said, well, I can understand your point of view, but yeah, just to kind of, well, our guides say that's okay. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And yeah, what Jonathan is saying right now is very true. Because actually, Jonathan, I today during the live, I realized I wasn't subscribed to you anymore for some reason, so I had to resubscribe. And I'm assuming it was because I probably subscribed from a chat at one point.
Now, I don't know if that, now I know, Cosmic Orphan, Steven, he's very familiar with the YouTube algorithms and the way they operate because being very familiar with computers and stuff, he says that doesn't affect subscriptions. What happens is that sometimes YouTube will go through, clean out if there are channels that, people that may not go to certain channels for a while or certain
Mm,
channels aren't. There's a lot of different ways of YouTube kind of doing the bot thing and cleaning out what they might think is
yeah,
spam or bots or stuff. But according to him and his understanding with his computer background, that subbing from a chat isn't supposed to, you know,
yeah.
but of course, that's just again another perspective. And so but for me,
And
yeah,
as they keep that all secret, again, gatekeeping the knowledge. None
yeah,
of us will really ever know know what is.
exactly. So, but yeah, I
It's
thought I was
frustrating.
subscribed to you, but I wasn't. But I don't think I did because I don't know.
Yeah,
I get so distracted with what's going on, in my personal life. But yeah, I lost a couple subscribers here and there, and I think it's just because of channels and things that, but nothing major. So as long as people are comfortable enough, anybody
yep,
who has a channel wants to put it in chat, go right ahead. The only time that I say don't put mine in there is like if I pop into someone's chat and these readers don't know who I am or really don't,
yeah,
they might have said hi to me in passing, then it's just like, okay, they really don't know who I am. You don't have to put my
yeah.
link in there until I become more familiar with them. But
Yeah, I don't post a lot on my channel. I'm trying to change that. I am trying to be better with it. I have about 4 videos that I have in the works that I'm
very cool.
pre-production stages right now. So, but
What
yeah,
kind of
no,
videos can I ask before we go? Give us a little insight.
sure. So I'm gonna do a couple of like some deck kind of quick reviews, some a little bit more in depth. Definitely for the Rider Marseille. I'm gonna be doing one. I've been working with that for a couple weeks now that it's out. One thing that I don't know when this is going to happen. I'll probably do a quick one on this new deck that I got. So I'm in a study group right now with about I Ching,
Oh,
which
okay.
is something that I'm not familiar with at all. I mean, like I know about it, like in the sense of I know it exists and I know what they look like and I understand basics of it, but I don't really know how to read it at all. So Artisan Tarot just came out with a new deck that I just got called the I Ching. It's a Pie of Panda, and it's basically it's 32 cards of trigrams
Oh
that like
my.
you basically build your hexagrams from. Whoops, I'll get the cameras right somehow. So I like the idea that it's cards, which is interesting. So I got that. So I'll probably do a quick thing on that just because this literally just came out. Um,
Moira wants to know, is that Dustin's group in
yes,
regards to okay.
yes, Moira, yes, yeah, yeah. We're working through Benabel's book, the I Ching Oracle.
Wow.
It's a chonker of a book, but it's been interesting to say the least. There's a lot of information in it. But yeah, no, that's more. That is the group.
And
Miss
Miss
Moonlight.
Moon, yeah.
That deck is from Artisan Tarot. I can give you the link. Give me one
Okay.
second.
And
Both
Kaylee
of those
said,
decks actually were.
and Kaylee says,
Uh,
talk to my holistic self, Jen. She'd be able to help too, I think, with the I cheats too. I think that's what that was in
great.
reference to. Yeah, the Benabell books are chunkers. That's why
Yes.
I recommend to when we start getting into the tarot. Where's the book that I just shared with Gerald and everybody the other day? Ah, Tina, you were just here. Tina, where are you? Watch, I'm going to get up later after the show. I'm going to be like, oh, you're right there. But the Tina Gone book with the double deck, that's only 25. And the book is this thick, but it's very simplified. It gives you
Yeah.
basics, gives you and then once you get into those basics, then books like Benabell's, and then will probably be then, like the next. For
Yeah.
me, I need something simple to
Benabel's
be
is
able to.
very interesting. It's a lot of information at
Mhm.
once. Um, it I got the link for Benabel's book, so let me just put that in the link. Because I do recommend it. It goes very much into the history. Um,
And she is at Barnes and Noble. I saw
yes,
her there today, and I was like, "Oh, I still got to get that book."
yeah, it's really a really good thing. And yeah, like I said, I'm doing this study group, which is great because it's small group of us. Maybe I don't remember how many people are in it at this point. Maybe 9, 10 or so. But yeah, and it's great because we can discuss it. We're going through it. We're only on our second or third meeting is tomorrow about it. So which is really it's really interesting. We all come at it from none of us really know it, so it's nice. We're all kind of learning it together.
Learning it
Um,
together. Yep.
yeah, it's really cool. But like it's so much information at once coming in. The book is so vast of information, and haven't even gotten into really going through the book of changes that her translation
My
of it.
computer program doesn't hold as much memory space as it used to. So when I see books like that, I'm like, I turn and kind of run the other way.
Yeah, I
But
was very surprised how big it was when it came. I was like, oh, because I only bought, I have one other book of hers, and I have that as a digital, because it was really cheap one day on Amazon.
yeah,
But
that's very
it's a
fair.
huge one. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing something on that eventually, and then the Dolly. I'm also working through I want to do some video that's more geared towards like something in my practice. And I'm working through some ideas on using sound in in magic. So
Very cool.
I'm
Yes.
working through that. That's going to be a while away, but I'm discussing it with a few people now because I have some ideas that I'm trying to figure out.
You know what's fascinating when it comes to sound and energy, is that if you go on YouTube, there are videos of sounds that they actually collect from the planets. That each
Yeah.
planet has a resonance, and when they run it
Mhm.
through, you hear a sound. And I just find that extremely fascinating to be able to another avenue for me that's not overcomplicated and don't, because I easily get overwhelmed with a lot of stuff now. It's just like I
Yeah.
need to take things in small doses. And for me, something that, because for me, sound has always, as a kid playing the flute, the drums. I tried a guitar, fingers wouldn't stretch, but I've
Yeah.
always been connected with
Same
music.
concept.
And listening to that, at least I had to listen to Jupiter because that's my planet, was Sagittarius. And I just found it fascinating that, could you imagine learning how to put certain of those sounds together, or certain tones? I mean,
Mhm.
that's how they feel that, the original civilizations, they learned sound and how certain sound waves and
Yeah.
sounds made to able to levitate and to be able to move blocks and build and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking of it in
it's out
terms
there.
of kind of like putting it into the terms of like almost like sigil magic in the sense of like coming up with a statement of intent, somehow converting that, and this is where I'm still working through things, converting that into MIDI notes or something, and then because I've said it in other places a few times, but I'm very much into like synthesizers and stuff. So I have like Eurorack gear and stuff like that, which is modular synths. Um, and I like the idea that I can program certain things that I can make kind of into mantras of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and kind of use those as a way of getting into a trance type state, kind of going into having that droning sound. So I kind of want to, I'm working on trying to build up some of that stuff that I'm working on. But
Really quick, this is how I feel too, Kristen. She just bought the Holistic Tarot, but it's so big, overwhelming, not sure how to read it. And then Jonathan suggested I find that the book is best suited for looking at information
yeah,
about a single card. So a single card at a time, baby steps. Also, Care Bear
yeah,
says Benabel website has
yes,
tons of resources and PDFs. Um,
videos. Yeah, there's a bunch of I Ching videos that I've been looking at up ours as well.
Frequency. And there was something else too. Kaylee said, I get full body chills a lot of times with
Yeah,
music. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Even when I know a certain song's about to come on, or you hear those first couple of notes, or you think, or when you start talking, like when I talk to people like with you, Tom, talking about Depeche Mode,
yeah,
certain music, I get all over body chills. So that sound, that music, you know, you can feel it, so
yeah,
starting to connect when you do those sounds, you can recreate that, then that energy is extra energy is present, and gives that little bit of spell work or sigil work that you do, that
yeah,
little extra umph, because it's you're feeling the frequency coming through you in your body. And Dina says the hand drum,
yeah.
music is my way of accessing spirit. Let's see, what is this? I just got the
Mm,
Soprafino Della Rocca deck from. Okay, sounds interesting. I mean, just the name itself. And yes, music is essential for me. Mm-hmm. Lorraine, certain songs by Lorena McKennitt, Enya, Deck and Dance,
mm,
Lisa Gerard. Her vocal range is incredible.
yeah,
And certain songs will just put me right into that zone. Boom,
yeah.
So yeah, I have different playlists. Native American flute. Whenever I want to get in touch with certain ancestors, it's music is powerful. It's a universal language.
Yeah.
If you can't understand language, but people come and they start making this, then they know.
And it's,
There's that language. Yeah.
and it's also just such a trigger in a good way, um, to your memories and nostalgia and emotions because like I mean you hear a certain song and you remember something in your life that you experienced at that time when that song was big for you. There's so much that it brings so much to you in all your senses that I feel like it's an important tool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
running up the hill is fantastic. I love Kate Bush.
yeah. And somebody mentioned Placebo earlier. They did an
Yes,
incredible remake of Running Up That Hill. And I heard it off The Bones, the TV show that ran
mhm,
for quite a few years. I That's the first time I heard and already I'm getting goose flesh because I'm talking about these
exactly.
songs. Depeche Mode was featured on there. Precious.
Mm,
Cindy Lauper, part of her comeback, she had a beautiful song that was featured on there. Placebo, and also Massive Attack with the song from they used for the theme of I don't know if people remember House, about the
yeah,
doctor who was addicted to the Vicodin and stuff. Oh my God, I loved that show. But the opening credits, Massive Attack, Teardrop. I mean, those right now, I'm just getting, you know, the goose flesh. For me, a lot of it is the sound of the music. That's why
yeah,
people, when I say bands, I don't like really necessarily a lot of bands. I really sometimes like songs because whatever they caught tonally, vocally, and lyrically into a song,
yeah.
that's what resonates, resonates through me. Um, let's see. Chin
Chinananda.
Chinanada means bliss. Ananada through the infinite consciousness. Okay. Wow, sharing so much. And this is what I love about our community. This is
Yep,
what I want to do more because for me, this feels very much like what soul alchemy is. We are coming together, we're sharing what makes our soul sing, we're sharing information, we're alchemizing it, we're bringing things
yep.
together, we're sharing. And this is what I want to do moving forward with my channel. So, thank you so much, Tom, for joining me tonight.
Yeah,
I would
no.
love to do this on a more of a, regular
Yes.
basis, having you on, because I love these conversations. I really
Yeah.
do.
No, I
Um,
like just having a conversation. I mean, it's great. We can read some
mhm.
cards every now and then too. I'm not super comfortable reading
Good night,
for
Hershey.
people,
Mm-hmm.
so it's always nice to just talk about things because I like to learn new things. I like to learn new perspectives of how people look at stuff. Like you're talking
Yeah.
about Reiki and stuff like that. That's
Enigma.
something I don't really know too much about. My oldest friend is in in real life. Um, he's a Reiki master, and I've talked to him a few times about it and
Wait,
everything.
who
But like
is?
an old friend of mine from
Oh, okay.
childhood, yeah, he moved to the West Coast a while ago, but he's we were very much into the same ideas at the time, and then he kind of went into his path, and I kept going on my path or whatever, different paths, and
Hmm.
he went to Reiki, and he loves it. But yeah.
Yeah. And
It's not
for me,
something I understand really, but I get the idea. But
there's hit and misses too with Reiki, just because, well, I think that might be a conversation for
yeah,
another day. But it's like, again, one person saying, well, you know, this is how you have to do it.
yeah,
This is how, and the only way you can do this is if you pay so and so much money to have
yeah,
me give you an attunement to be able. And I'm thinking to myself, but if it's universal love, and I'm not knocking people who teach Reiki, I understand sometimes attunements may very well be necessary, but how I need to look at it too is, okay, if this is universal energy, love energy that flows through us, it's right there when we rub our hands and we can feel it.
yeah,
Why do I need someone to come over and do whatever over my head to be able to heal somebody or to help heal somebody? So sometimes for me, it's kind of like that's one of the things. This is a part of re examining your belief systems,
yes,
how so yeah. Like I said, I'm not knocking people who do and teach Reiki, do Reiki master, and having to do attunements. I understand that symbols, can help us put us into a frame of mind. It may be a way of connecting energy and having it
hmm,
flow a certain way. But to say that, well, you're not doing it right, I don't know. For me, I feel like there's something else out there. And Jonathan, I don't know if you've ever heard of Lomi Lomi. but I had that done, and that was like an like Reiki, but it was done with dance movements. And the woman who had done that for
Hmm.
me, she had gone to Hawaii. It's a Hawaiian form of energy healing, and it was called Lomi Lomi, and it's moving around the body, pulling and dancing and moving energy through and then coming back. It wasn't like static handheld. It was all flowing and dancing movements. I mean, it was beautiful.
Interesting.
Yep. And Jonathan says Lomi Lomi is amazing. I would love to learn how to do that, because that's when I did the Reiki, that's how I was. I would move. I wasn't doing symbols. For me, it was, you know, the symbols would throw me off. It took me off my intention. So not everybody works or thinks or moves energy the same way. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is. I would definitely check it out. So,
Thank you.
oh boy, 9:41.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, well, this is where, conversation, and you don't realize the time.
Yeah.
So, but definitely would love to have you back again. Have everyone back
Oh,
in
definitely.
chat. Have this, continue having these very open and respectful and honest,
Yep.
discussions. And again, everybody, please. I know some people have been going over and subbing to Jonathan. Thank you. Sharon's been sharing Tom's
Yes,
link
thank
in
you.
the chat. Thank you. Let's help everybody build up their channels.
And Shaw Woman too. Thank you. She
Yep.
linked me.
Yes. Thank you, Dina. So everybody have a great rest of your night, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow night when Jeff from Tarot Ask Backwards joins me for some more of us sharing our poetry and doing some tarot reads. So
And Super
we'll
Bowl
see.
talk, right? It's gonna be all Super Bowl talk.
Oh, that's right. Well,
That's tomorrow.
if you don't watch the Super Bowl, and I won't. So if you want
Me neither.
something else, come and hang and listen to some poetry if you want.
That's
Get a
definitely much more
mouthful.
interesting than football to me.
Yeah.
So
Oops, Cinderella's coach is about to turn into a pumpkin. Yes. So,
yeah.
all right. Thank you, everybody. Again, we appreciate you so much, and
Thank you.
we'll see you on one of our next shows. Have a good night.
Bye.